Oh, you're such a sweetie boy. She's a very interesting neurological character. Neuroperceptual is the right word. Well, neuroperceptual, cognitive. She certainly has all sorts of cognitive stuff going on. It's not verbal, which is what we normally think of as cognitive. But cognitive really is all your thought processes, all your ability to take in what your five senses, as well as your various senses, as both the senses that bring in information from the outside, as well as how you process it inside, which are, you have the equivalent of sensory organs inside your brain. I mean, in a virtual way. I don't mean they really are structured the same or anything, but they do the same kind of thing. They take in information from various places. Well, there's all sorts of decision making about what's important and what's not, because what goes on in our brain is such an unbelievable amount of information processing, or I should say data processing, as well as information processing, because the data comes in, well, and it's really by the time it gets into the perceptual system that it's no longer just data. It's processed data. Is it truly information? Well, we probably don't need to get too specific about that. So she's taking in what's going on. She doesn't know what to do about it. She knows it's within a fun kind of, she's not scared of this. She wonders, how much is, it might hurt a little bit. She doesn't really care about pain. She feels it. She responds by moving away or barking, yelping. And then if it's not continuing, or if the only pain is a leftover, she's off to new things. She doesn't need to worry about it. And we don't either need to. We do, but we don't need to. She's sort of in this, she's in a kind of a trance, if you think about it. Something's happening sort of over and over again, this movement. And all this, she's taking it in. I mean, any animal takes in whatever's going on. Think about flies. They're always taking in a very limited kind of information, but it's still a fair amount. Even a fly is taking in enormous amounts of packets of light, for example. And that's what's going on. I mean, but what does it mean? That's where intelligence comes in. And intelligence, really, almost all animal life has intelligence. Might not be great. And you could even argue that a tree that grows around an obstacle is doing an adaptation that it's intelligence. There's something going on in the environment, and it's a life process. And life does not exist without life is a level of organization that's above non-life. It's not separate from that. It's not fundamentally it is fundamentally different. No, it's not. What am I saying? At the base, the fundamental, the true baseline, life is no different from chemical processes. And chemical processes are no different from physical properties or processes. So we study physics, which is simply simple things as what goes on. Well, there's sound that's made, and there's pain, and also what happened? You measure it, and I'm sure you measure it. You see my hand would move. How much does it move? It has to do with all sorts of things. That's physics. Um, and if we apply it to our body, we call it biophysics, the physics of our body. Or no, they're not. They don't break any of the laws of like this kind of law, gravity. They don't. The levels of organization that say use gravity. So if you're talking about biophysics, you start talking about not just inanimate objects. You're talking about an intelligent thing, something that does something in order to get something accomplished. That's rocks don't do that. She is undergoing such an enormous readjustment because the first 4 months of her life, she's a little under 4. She was born January 4th, so in another week or so, it'll be 4 months. I got her brother, Gromit, when he was 5 weeks old. Within a short period of time, he ran away, and I put an ad in Craigslist. I made a big poster, and I got him back. The person who found him gave him back to me. Well, and then it happened again, where he got out of the car. He was sleeping. I didn't want to disturb him. When I left, I said, "Oh, I don't want to disturb the little fella." And I knew, I quote, I knew he was in the car. He wasn't. He had gotten out. And I didn't notice it for a long time because I didn't want to, I didn't want to disturb him. He and I had been running around, and I thought he was exhausted. And he went in and went to sleep. And I was doing stuff with my camera. I'm not sure what I was doing, but that's my car doors, more than one door was open. Probably. I'm sure that's what happened. When I make videos, I frequently am taking the mic stand from one side of the car, and then I've got all my cables and stuff, and that I can get to either through the back door or the other side. I have a big, what's a workbench? It was kind of an amazing deal at Home Depot. It's this thing that the legs just folded. It came flat, but it was folded. It was hinged. The legs were hinged, and then you open it up, and then there was another shelf, and you put that shelf in there, and that's it. I thought I was going to have to do all sorts of reinforcing so it wouldn't collapse in the car, but it's with that shelf in there, it stays open. And I did have to tie this thing in two places to. One is the seat belt comes around and holds it in. I have to put a screw in to keep that from moving. And then the other place, I just have some cord that goes around the leg of the one leg, and then goes through one of the handles. For the sliding. There's a sliding door, and then there's the handle for getting you out and in. So I tied it to that. So anyway, that's all to say that my car, which is also my home, it's a minivan. It's also my office, my studio, and it's also my stage, and it's a staging ground. It's a wonderful place. It's my home. I'm not homeless. People think, oh, you're living in your car, you're homeless. Well, what's home? What's home? Home is where the life is. Home is where you can feel comfortable. Home is when after a long day, you're really tired, and you forget where your home is. That's one of the problems. Oh my gosh. Happened to me several times in LA, and then it happened again. In LA again. In Venice, the same place, the same area. Venice, the Venice part of, it's not a separate city. It's a neighborhood, although it has its own council, but it's part of the city of Los Angeles. They have a very strange system there. Anyway, so I go out performing, when I'm performing, I'm focusing on who's watching me, where the police are, these days especially. Thinking about what do I do if a police car comes along? Do I make a point of saying, hey, this is what I'm doing? Or do I just stop doing it so the police can't stop it now? They have no reason to pull me, to stop and say, we got a call that you were running across the street, so we have to check your ID to make sure you're not a terrorist since you were running across the street. That's kind of logical. No, they'll say something that is more logical, like, oh, people are concerned about your safety, and, there are these crazy people around, and rather than watch you and realize that what you're doing must, in fact, involve quite a bit of preparation and skill. We're not going to look at that. We don't give a shit. Somebody called, and this is very important. Somebody called and they want their servant to take care of business. And that's what happened out there on that 18-mile stretch in Florida, where I got pulled. I got out of the car with my hands up, and there's more, a lot more to this whole story. Oh my gosh. There were witnesses. In fact, you guys, why don't you, hey, okay, I'm talking to the people who came out from that, like, marina or something. You guys saved my life. So thank you. Thank you, really. Oh my gosh. There's certain things you kind of put out of your mind because they're just too, they make you go, whoa, But, actually, the more you allow it to come in, the more it over time stops. I mean, PTSD is something that, well, you do it, the way you get past PTSD is the same way people who have a great fear of snakes get past their fear of snakes. Or anything else, really, that you really need to change your response, because your response is from you're responding to something that happened a long time ago, and instead of focusing on what's going on right this moment. And anytime you're spending energy on something other than this moment, means you're just not, it's time that you're not, it's going to sound a little repetitive, or redundant, but it's time that you're not spending on what's going on in this moment, and that what's going on in this moment is the only thing that you truly have control over. It's a decision you can make now. You either make a decision to do something, or you don't make a decision at all, and two things can possibly come your way: opportunity and danger. And what do? Do you ignore the danger because you really don't want to think about the terrible thing that's about to happen? And so you keep walking right into where that car is careening out of control. People do that. I mean, think about deer. And that's a little bit, the deer, they actually run toward the headlights. And why? It actually is more logical than what we humans do, because we are more complicated in the way we think. But this is something, when they run towards headlights, it's because they don't see anything else. And they're trying to get away, and they don't know where to turn. They look this way and it's dark, and they look this way, it's dark. They have no idea. And the headlights have blinded. I mean, and instantly, you're out in the dark for 20 minutes, and you wind up being able to see a lot more. Where our eyes can adjust very quickly to be able to see a lot more. But over time, there's a whole chemical process where that the body is undergoing, because once it's dark, you really want to see absolutely as much as the body is capable of seeing. So the body the eyes undergo a process of making the rods more sensitive. And it's something it's a chemical process that builds up the sensitivity of the rods. And the moment light is shined on your eyes, that stuff kind of dissipates, and it takes like 20 minutes. You see, this is different from the opening and closing of the iris. That happens pretty quickly, and that's a very important thing. Is if we couldn't have that, we'd be in trouble. We'd be blinded by light all the time. Just regular light would blind us, you know. So anyway, deer, when they're trying to find where they're going or they're eating or something, and all of a sudden they hear a sound and go, oh no, and they look up and they look into the lights and all immediately their iris closes, and then they lose that extra sensitivity, and so everything around them is pitch black except that light. Oh, and maybe the area in front of the light. So that's why they go, oh, I can see. I mean, they probably don't go directly to the light. They go to whatever it's shining on. And it's a headlight, so it's shining ahead. So they go right ahead, right in front of your car. And we do similar things, and it's very, very useful to understand what that's all about. And I would say that's a lecture for another day. So I'll say goodbye for now. Old Pooch here is sacked out. She's so beautiful. I love her. You can't really even see her. Oh, let's just have it on her just a little bit. Wallis. That's a W-A-L-L-I-S, because she's Gromit's sister. Gromit, by the way, is spelled like the whole, the thing that's in the car, or Gromit, with two M's and E, whereas in the cartoon, Wallis and Gromit, Gromit is G-R-O-M-I-T, and Wallis is Wall-Ace, it's like a man, but this is a female. And what's really interesting is this is Wallis Simpson, the one who stole King Eddie's heart and made him lose his crown. And most people don't know that Wallis Simpson was the genetic model, the genetic seed that was used to I'm sorry, what's the right word? It's to run through this program of character development for the Simpsons. So all the characters in the Simpsons come from Wallis Simpson's genetic material, and it's a very interesting process, which we'll talk about perhaps